Hi, I'm Paul Pasulka, Ivy Masters Learning Center and ivymasters.com. And today we're going to look at Test 7, Section 1, number 52, which reads, based on the graph, the author's depiction of Higgs theory in the mid-1980s is most analogous to which hypothetical situation? Based on the question, we've got to look in two places, the graph, and notice it also says the author's depiction. And if it says the author's depiction, you know you got to look at the passage. Now it says mid-1980s. Usually it's easier to look at the graph first because you know exactly where it is, and then you got to swim through the passage if you don't remember exactly where the answer to the question is. But this mentions a year. Usually years are really easy to find. But let's still look at the graph first. Biggest mistake students make when looking at the graph, at any graph, is they don't understand really what's going on in a graph before they start to answer the question. So let's make sure we read and understand the title. Years from introduction of concept of particle to experimental confirmation. So in other words, if we're looking at the Higgs boson, you can see that on your left, and you see all the particles on the left, and you see all the years on the bottom. In the 1980s, you can see 1980s right there, and the Higgs boson, it looks like it was introduced in the early 60s. In the 1980s, it's still introduced but not confirmed experimentally. The end of each line is where it's confirmed experimentally. So it looks like maybe it was confirmed experimentally in 2012. Actually, if you read the blurb, it tells you that it was tentatively confirmed, I believe, in 2012. So anyway, that's what we get. We're in between the introduction and the confirmation. They're like, hey, we have this idea that there is this thing called the Higgs boson, but they didn't prove it experimentally just yet. And then we go to the passage and we see that the 1980s are mentioned in the last paragraph. And what the author says is, we know the author speaking there, can attest by the mid-1980s, the assessment had changed. The assessment of what? Rejection of Higgs. So apparently people didn't accept Higgs, but 1980 the assessment had changed. It sounds like people started to accept it. The physics community had, for the most part, fully bought into the idea that the Higgs field permeating space. So what we get, 1980s, everyone's bought into the idea. It's already been introduced. Everyone's bought into it, but it has not been confirmed experimentally just yet. We're going to take that with us to the answer choices for number 52. And answer choice A, the muon neutrino was widely disputed until being confirmed in the early 1960s. What the passage said is that professors, the physics community had fully bought into the idea. There's no dispute there. No one's fighting about whether or not there's Higgs at that point. There's a Higgs field. Answer choice B, few physicists in 2012 doubted the reality of the tau neutrino. So let's look at 2012 tau neutrino. 2012 is right here, tau neutrino. But notice, tau neutrino, 2012, that's way after it's been confirmed. 1980, it has not yet been confirmed. Probably not a great answer there. Answer choice C, no physicist prior to 1960 considered the possibility of the W or Z boson. Now, even just based on the passage, we know that this is wrong because at that point, everyone buys, all the physicists in the physics community has bought into the idea of a Higgs field at that point. So it's not no physicists consider a possibility. Answer choice D must be our answer. Most physicists in 1940 believed in the existence of the electron neutrino. Let's check the graph. 1940, if we go up, it hits this bar here. Let's see what that is. Sure enough, it's the electron neutrino. Just like the 1980s hits the Higgs boson, in between the introduction and the confirmation. Like the passage says, the physics community accepted the Higgs field as of 1980, and answer choice D is saying essentially the physics community by 1940 accepted the electron neutrino, even though it was not yet experimentally confirmed. Most physicists in 1940 believed in the existence of the electron neutrino. That is your answer. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, click like. You could share it with someone who has trouble with these science passages. If there's any question you'd like to see answered from any official PSAT or SAT or ACT, leave that in the comments. I'd be happy to shoot a video on it. And click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Have a great day.